The last time Mumbai Development Plan 2034 came around, that was in February 2015. It met with a storm of criticism, forcing the Chief Minister to scrap the plan and order a revision. The revised development plan was released for public discussion 2 months ago, and the deadline for suggestions and objections ended on 29th of July, which is just last week, Friday. The BMC says that they have received a total of 12,916 suggestions or you can call them objections for the revised development plan, which is a big drop from the 65,000 received last year. Now we've got Mayur Shah, Managing Director, Marathon Group and President-elect MCHI CREDAI, and also with us Purva Devulkar, Architect and Urban Designer, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Purva and Mayur, thank you very much for joining in. How do we read it, Purva? I mean, there are noises which are saying that BMC this time has actually clubbed or similar kinds of suggestions together, and that's why the number looks to be just around 13,000, down from 65,000. Do we take it as okay because it's a revision of a plan, therefore the suggestions have come down? Is it a positive or is it not that positive?
I would like to say that do we then, there are BMC elections next year, right? So do we then take each councillor ward and the voters which vote for the same councillor collate them and then say it as one? It's the same way. So if we are collating all the suggestion objections and saying it as if from the same area they are going to come and become, if they are objection and suggestion and objection from the same area, and then saying that there is one and they would just get one hearing, that's totally not acceptable, because the MRTP Act itself says that everyone should get hearing. All suggestion objection should get a hearing.
Okay. So, Purva, my question is, I get your point, but how do you really then get a plan going? We keep having these discussions whenever there's rain, there's an infrastructure collapse, cities go into logjam, then we say, we don't have a master development plan in India. And then, you know, it's very hard to meet every stakeholder's requirements and needs. So how do you really strike a balance? So for example, activists are saying that the plan does not have enough green spaces. There's been inclusion of green zones in densely populated areas. There's lack of contour mapping to understand the risk of flooding. So you know, how do you really align the interest of all the stakeholders? Is it possible, or do you just say, hey, look, this is the minimum common platform and let's go ahead with it? Better to have something going than not have anything at all.
See, one can't really lower the standards because they are not achievable. Standards are the built environment standards, so they need to be achieved, right? So when you're looking at certain definitions which the development plan gives in, like public spaces, public open spaces, it says that all gymkhanas or swimming pools are going to be public open spaces. So how many people do have access to that? Do I have access to a golf course? No, I don't have access to a golf course. So when I'm saying that public open spaces are not going to be open to public, then how does it really say that the plan is going to be okay?
Okay, I get it. I mean, and we do need, in a country where such few have the wherewithal to actually access these upmarket so-called public spaces, they're really not public spaces. They're more exclusive than inclusive. Mayur, come in here. I mean, developers seem to be more or less happy with the plan. There's affordable housing. For the first time, DP has actually put specific provisions for affordable housing and highlighted NDZs. There's also an, you know, FSI which has been taken to a uniform 2 from the current 1.33. So overall, do you think that at least from a real estate perspective, the development plan has taken care of all your requirements?
Yeah, Manisha, I think I will also answer that DP plan, which is fairly ironed out, because what happened is that so many errors which were there in the DP plan, there was a proper process of addressing it. The new, the MCGM commissioner and the staff had a really transparent manner, heard so many people with whatever errors which were there in the previous DP plan were corrected. Now, I come back to, that is the reason maybe you are seeing a lesser number of suggestion objections, because majorly the previous plan had a lot of errors. So that has been ironed out. Number two, yes, we welcome the changes like earmarking affordable housing. The NDZ actually where the land which were actually touching the DP boundary anyway, so those were blocked for the next DP plan are opened up, and they are specifically earmarked for the affordable housing. That will bring a lot of affordable housing in the next DP plan. That is also welcome change. Yes, FSI is also quite rationalized across the Mumbai. We thought maybe 2.5 would have been better, but I think even 2 is okay with certain additional FSIs as an incentive FSIs which are going to be coming in for 33, 7, 9, 10. Those are the redevelopment one.
Okay.
Because if you look at Mumbai's DP plan, it is more of an urban renewal rather than a DPSA, because almost 85-95% of the land are already developed. So we are really going into the redevelopment mode for next 20 years.
Okay. Purva, I can understand that there are common interests between architects, urban planners and real estate, and some of them may not be common interests at all. There may not be commonalities when it comes to at least common spaces. Tell me, what is it? I mean, if you've gone through the plan, what are 3 or 4 biggest concerns that you have before the DP is passed, and should not be included or should be revised?
So I will focus on 3 main issues. One, where the DP in its vision itself says that it has to be equitable. Then it says that it has to be environmentally sustainable. Third, it says that it should cater to economic development of the city. So when I talk about equity, this time the development plan has tried to bring in equity for certain kind of people. So if you say gender, this is the first time gender has been included in the development plan, and which is through because of this constant negotiation with the MCGM, which is what we welcome. Then this is the first time that child-friendly cities are being talked about. But then I am talking of equity through a different perspective, where planning as a whole has created a lot of segregated areas for past 20 years. So if you look at Island City, it is well serviced with social infrastructure or physical infrastructure. If you look at suburbs, they lack them. And if you specifically look at eastern suburbs, then they are the worst hit in the social amenities or physical infrastructure. So when we look at these kind of segregation which has happened, then does the DP really address it? It has not really taken to that, because whatever tools the DP is making to address this social infrastructure or physical infrastructure is accommodation reservation, redevelopment or TDR. So these tools are trying to create amenities which will happen through redevelopment or which will happen in nearest future. But there is no land earmarked for these sort of amenities.
All right. I'm sure that you have a very proactive Chief Minister, I must say, in fact, in terms of urban planning, and I think he recognizes the urgent need to preserve and revive Mumbai. Mayur, what are the chances now, let's say, of this plan going through? Of course, there'll be counter voices and there'll be voices of sanity, and the better the plan, the better it is for Mumbai city. After all, based on this blueprint, there will be a revival of the city per se. So what are the chances that it's going to get passed with some changes?
I think, as I told you, that the major problem of hue and cry were a lot of errors. I think that has been ironed out, and it's a huge area which is being mapped as a DP plan, and some people will always be unhappy because some lands will be acquired for some reservations, some land will be acquired for DP roads, and they may not be really, those people will be definitely not happy if that equivalent remunerations are not given. I think at this DP is trying to address that with revised land acquisition policy, the TDR to be given almost twice the land area. That is what also is trying to rationalize, where people have lost their land and for public purpose, they will get partly remunerated with this policy. So overall, I feel that 90-95% of the people are being satisfied with the revision which has been done, and we hope that at some point we really close this thing and move ahead with the DP plan.
All right, we are keeping our fingers crossed as well that at least minimum requirements or demands of every group, whether it's environmentalists or green activists, or even those urban planners who are fighting for, and I can see Purva shaking her head and saying, no, it's not compromisable, it's not minimum requirements, it has to be all requirements which have to be met. Well, keep our fingers crossed. My thing is, hey, listen, let's have a plan, let's get going. And I think that if you can never make everybody happy, but yes, if you go with the right spirit, I'm sure you can revive that city.
It really depends on who you make happy also, right? When my city's population is 42% is someone which I'm not catering to in the development plan, then that's a concern.
That is a concern. And I'm sure that's also a large part of the vote bank. I'm sure, Purva, they will reconcile those differences. Mayur Shah, Purva, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks a lot.